Welcome to the Story 516 podcast, where we sit down with Christians from across denominations and talk about how God is at work in the world today and inspire you to see God at work in your own life in new ways. Welcome back to the Story 516 podcast. I'm joined today by a returning guest, Jonny Sollie, my brother. I believe you were one of my first guests on this show back in the first kind of year I was doing this.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think, what was it, 2023? No.
Yeah, that would have been
Yeah, it
2023.
would have been early 2023, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, time flies. For, I guess, anyone listening who maybe didn't listen to that episode, or been almost 2 years or about 2 years
Yeah.
since then, could you give us a refresher on like a quick little paragraph bio on who you are other than my brother?
Yeah. So like Zach said, my name's Jonny. I work as a pastor at Ignite Church over in Moorhead, Minnesota. Been there actually 4 years now, which is wild. Like just completed 4 years in July. 2 years as in my new role as a pastor. I oversee all our worship ministry, all that fun stuff there, and internships. That's a little bit about what I do. I just say like hobbies of mine include anything outdoors, pickleball. Those are kind of my big ones right now, like hiking, traveling, pickleball. Yeah.
Nice. And when I was kind of thinking about kind of this next slate of guests, what you're saying about traveling and hiking, that kind of clicked with me where I was like, that would be a really interesting conversation to have about kind of adventure. Because when I think of adventurous people, you're usually the first person who comes to mind. You did a big Italy trip and Norway trip in the last couple years. And I know traveling is a big passion of yours.
It really is.
And I was thinking that would be just a very interesting, like I said, interesting conversation to talk about adventure.
Yeah.
And God and how those two interact, connect, kind of play with each other.
100%.
So I'd love to hear kind of a little bit of your heart behind kind of your adventurous side.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I just was pulling up a note because I have a note of like all the states I've been to and all the countries I've been to. I've been to 30 states and then 14 countries.
Wow. That is definitely more than my 2 countries.
Yeah.
And I'm probably in the teens for states.
Yep. Yeah, I should get to a few more countries this year, and then next year I have a trip planned out where I'll probably get 3 more countries.
Nice.
So we'll see. Yeah.
You have to take me along one of these times.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's always kind of been something like that I've been into is traveling and adventure. Like I remember as a kid, just like anything new and exciting, like I'm all for, like, let's try something new, let's do something fun, let's go somewhere exciting. I mean, I think that's just really like one way God's really wired me, is just a desire to just see the world and see his creation. And I think for me, it's been really cool since I've given my life to the Lord in 2013 that like my desire to travel went from I want to just like go and see everything to I get to see God's creation throughout the world, and it just is like a testament to who God is and that he's our creator God. I'm just like, I have a few Psalms here that even just talk about that, right? Like Psalm 19:1 says, the heavens declare the glory of God and the sky above proclaims his handiwork. And like, that is just like a big thing. Whenever I travel, it just like blows me away at how detailed and creative God is.
And I know kind of with what you're saying, you tend to gravitate towards those trips or vacations that put you outdoors in nature, 100%. Like you're saying. And kind of thinking about, there are lots of different types of travelers.
Yep.
Some people are like, I want to go see the touristy sites. I want to visit the museums, learn about where I'm going. There's some people who are like, I want to put my tent in a backpack and hike 2 miles away from all technology and dig a hole for my own toilet. Like, It's maybe not myself. I
Yeah.
do like modern conveniences, at least within walking distance. And then there are the people who really appreciate almost like it's not quite like a staycation where you just stay at home, but
Mm-hmm.
like you go to a spot and just stay there,
Yeah.
whether
Yeah.
that's like an all-inclusive resort
Mm-hmm.
or a lot of people kind of in Minnesota where we live will go to like their lake
Yeah.
and just kind of stay at their lake,
Yeah.
do lake things, hang out at their lake. Lakes, I guess, are out in nature
Yep.
as well.
Yep.
And I know you've gotten out to a relative's lake place a number of times this year
Oh
already.
yeah.
But let's focus on kind of that more nature, that more adventure.
Yeah. Yeah.
You brought up the verse about,
Yeah. The
um,
heavens declaring God's glory.
yeah,
Yeah.
kind of connecting. And I mean, like looking back, I think there's a theme through the Bible of nature from Genesis
Oh yeah.
where the
Yeah.
God created the world to things like the Psalms you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
or even I think of like when Jesus is coming into Jerusalem, he's like, hey, if you quiet the people, even the rocks will cry out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there's maybe some threads that we can kind of pull there. But I'm curious, like when you've been out in nature, does that kind of change how you view God or interact with God compared to
Mm.
when you're just going the day to day in town?
Yeah. 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 I would say so. You know, like many people will talk about like, hey, how do you connect best with the Lord, right? Like some people it is sitting down and praying. Other people it is opening his word, his living and active word and reading it. I've seen in my life the ways I connect and really, really, like I like to think of it add and subtraction. What causes you to love the Lord more, add more of that in your life. And what hinders you from loving the Lord, subtract those things. And so for me, two things that really stir my affection for the Lord is singing and music. Hence, like that's what I get to do for work, right?
Right, right.
And the other way is just being in his creation. And so for me, it's like, when I go into God's creation, I am just blown away that like God would design things so uniquely and like I'm just like blown away. Like I remember the first time I went to Colorado and seeing the mountains and being like, "Whoa, these mountains are awesome." Like there's so much detail in every mountain, and yet we're just in this tiny spot in America and there's so
Right,
much more in the world that God
right.
created. Like and yet God cares for us even more. Like
Yeah.
that's really cool to think about. Like the detail, you see the detail of all the little things, and then it reminds me of like there's so much detail there that God like focused on and all this stuff, yet God cares about me. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's
That's
kind
pretty
of like
cool.
I think it's in Matthew. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But where he talks about look at
The
the
sparrows.
sparrow of the
Yep.
field.
Mm-hmm.
If God basically if
Yeah.
God takes care of them,
Yeah.
how
How
much
much more?
more is he
Mm-hmm.
going to take care of
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
as a
100%.
person, as someone created in his image?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. And I mean, I realize now that maybe I should have put a warning at the top of the episode that math will be included with the
Yeah.
adding and subtracting
Yeah.
there. Because
It's
I know
simple math. It's simple
not
math.
everybody loves math. I was an English major, so I had to, on principle, hate math.
You're right. Yep. Yep. Yep.
No, but I really like that idea of what adds and to your. Can you
Yeah,
restate
yeah,
that?
yeah. I forget who said it. I want to say I was listening to a podcast and heard it on a podcast. I'm pretty sure that's where I heard it. Maybe it was in a book, but it's basically this principle of what causes you to love God more, do more of that, add more of that into your life. What are those things in your life that hinders or distracts your love and your attention to God? Subtract those things from your life. So add and subtract.
I like that. It doesn't the way you state it there, it doesn't feel as overwhelming as like, hey, you need to do this many minutes of Bible reading or this many minutes of whatever practice or do this specific thing 5 times each
Right.
week. It's kind of more of a simple, like kind of like you can kind of think about this in a lot of different disciplines. Like if you're trying to be more healthy,
Yeah.
maybe eat more fruits and vegetables and
Right.
eat less candy.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah.
Um, it's kind of a nice way to look at growing closer to God, where it feels very like you're easing into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very, very accessible and non-daunting.
Yeah. And I think like that's like a huge thing because like I think of like sometimes we can just get overwhelmed with like, oh, I want to be here, and that's like to get to this spot, whatever it may be, whether it's healthy living, whether it's spiritual disciplines, right? Like sometimes we can have this big goal, and it's like, oh, it's so tough to get to that goal. Like I don't even know where to begin. And yet, if we just do this simple thing of what stirs our affection for the Lord, what causes us to love Him more, add more of that into your life.
Yeah. And I want to kind of go back to like you seeing the mountains, you
Yeah.
going out to these grand vistas, these
Mm-hmm.
grand experiences. Does that help you feel less overwhelmed in your walk with God?
Oh man, yeah, yeah,
Which is
yeah.
kind of like an interesting way to say it, because I think the view and these experiences could be like overwhelming in the sense of they're just so massive and so
Oh yeah,
big.
yeah, yeah,
But it's
yeah,
interesting how kind of like you were saying, seeing that something is so big gives you more confidence and like I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
yeah.
like peace and stuff about your
Mm-hmm.
own relationship and how God views you.
Yeah, yeah. And I think like too, it's just like it kind of creates a sense of just awe and reverence in my life, and like just makes me realize that like there's so much more to life. And sometimes like even like there might be little things in my life that cause me stress, which those are real things. But when I go out into nature, it's like, wow, like there's so much more to life. There's so much more to this world than my little stress of whatever it may be. Like that's still real and valid. But when I go out in nature and see God's creation, what it does is it kind of God just reminds me through his creation of I've got you. Like look at the detail and all this stuff. Like I've got you. And like it really instills a sense of peace and wonder in my life.
Yeah. Well, I was curious, have there been a couple specific locations that you visited that have been maybe your favorite, or have, especially if it's like there's a spiritual aspect or spiritual experience that you had, or a way that you connected with God through a specific trip or location? I was curious if you
Yeah.
could share about like one of those.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's been a few different times in my life, specifically where like just I need to get away and process changes in life, whether it's big or small. I think of Colorado. I've gone there many times, and like it was I forget when it was, maybe like 2021, maybe 2022, 2020, yeah, 2021 or 2022. Went and did this really beautiful hike to this spot called Sky Pond. I went with my former youth pastor. Him and his family lived in Colorado at the time, and he's had one of the biggest spiritual impacts on my life. And so myself, him, and then his two oldest kids, we all went hiking. It was about like a 12-mile hike or something like that.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, it was in October, I believe. October of 21 is what I'm thinking. And like it was just like really busy time in my life. There's a lot happening. I was new into my role as a pastoral resident at Ignite, just like processing like, oh man, like this is amazing. And I'm thinking about my future now, like what's going to happen when the 2 years of the residency ends? Where will I be? All these things, even though I was only like freshly into it, it was still something I was thinking about.
Yeah.
And just getting away and just like processing with my former youth pastor, but also just like praying and hiking. Like that's one of my favorite things to do is when I go hiking, like I just have a sweet opportunity to pray and to just talk to God. So I think to Colorado, even like last summer when I went to, I guess it was August of last year, summer, late summer, I went to Europe. I hit up 7 different countries with me and a few friends.
Nice.
Great time. And just like traveling and seeing more, just like it was just a really busy time in my life. My life's always busy, I feel but it was overwhelmingly busy.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to use the word busy. My life right now is full. It's full of good things.
Right.
But a year ago it was really, really busy. And it was coming up on I had some issues with my lung in 2020, September, October, November 2023. I was hospitalized, all this stuff, had 4 surgeries. And so it was less than a year out from that. And here I am, like, just hiking in the Dolomites in Italy, hiking in the Scottish Highlands, just seeing more and more of God's creation. And just like really, like, it allowed me to process life, all aspects of life, because going through just what I went through with my lung stuff it was not a fun time. It was,
Yeah.
like, it was not enjoyable. Like,
Yeah.
would
Well,
not
kind of, it
recommend.
absolutely, like, you're someone who's always on the go,
Mm-hmm.
and it really sidelined you where you're just like, well, the doctors were like, hey, you did this surgery. You have to rest now.
Yeah.
You can't do sports, pickleball. You can't go traveling. You got to stay at home and do things that probably sounded horrible to you at the time. Like, you need to just read, play video games, watch TV, sleep.
Yep.
Just take it easy for a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah. Well, I remember I even reached out to you and our other brother Luke and was like, hey guys, give me book recommendations. And that, like, I never do that.
I know. I was both excited and worried at the
Yeah,
same
right. I'm
time.
like, I was too. What am I doing reading books? What in the world? Anyway, but like, yeah, so August of last year, a year out, not even a year out from all my surgeries, just getting to be in God's creation. One, like, it just gave me an opportunity because, like, the Lord knows that, like, the 2 ways my affections grow most for him is through singing and worship and
Yeah.
music, and then through nature. And, like, you know, lung stuff, like, that affects your singing. Like, there was a time where I assumed that I would never be able to lead worship again.
Yeah.
And, like, the fact that, like, they cut out part of my lung, like, lung capacity is not where it was before, right? And so I was like, will I ever be able to even hike again? And,
Yeah.
like, God so graciously allowed those things to come back,
Yeah.
right? Like, I was able to go hiking again. I'm able to lead worship and sing again. And, like, he didn't have to have that happen, but he so graciously, like, was like, hey, here you go. And for me, it was just like, all right, Lord, like, thank you so much. Like, thank you that I'm able to go and hike and just commune with you through your creation and just be in awe and reverence of who you are. And it really stirs my love for him even more so.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know, like, for a lot of people, that, like, walking or just getting away are great times to, like, just, like, think about things.
Yeah.
I've done some research into, like, brainstorming because it's like I do a lot of creative work on the side and I need times to, like, think and plan and plot. But I think that also copies over to, like, time with God just as well, where I can see, like, hiking or even, like, people since millennia ago basically have been meditating in different forms, and getting away from the busyness of life can be really helpful to, like, get yourself in a state of, like, meditation, prayer, focus on uh things, be like God, someone beyond yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I also just would say, like, just kind of to like tag on that and add on that, like, for me when I'm out in nature, it gives me that time to process and reflect, kind of look back in retrospect at many different things, right? All areas of my life and where I'm at and where I'd like to be too. Yeah, it's just I love it so much.
Yeah, and processing is really healthy, I think, in kind of the Western world, especially, we're
kind of encouraged to do what's next, move on to what's next. And we maybe don't always have the time to fully process through events that have happened to us, and being able to get away, get into a state that adds to our affection for God. While we process that, it's almost like inviting him in to help with processing.
Yeah.
So I was curious to kind of close out this conversation. We've talked a lot about adventure and getting out to these grand trips. You talked about Colorado, you talked about Italy, Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
For the people who maybe can't do all the extreme, like they're not going to go ski in the Himalayas or take a camel across the Sahara. I'm trying to think of like what's the most extreme
Hike Mount Everest.
Hike Mount Everest. For the people who maybe can't do that, but are very interested in trying to see, hey, is nature, like maybe they haven't thought about it, but like, is nature a way that I connect with God more? I want to try getting out away from the hustle and bustle to see if that helps me connect with God. What would be some recommendations for like easy small steps to like kind of dip your toes into that pond, if you will?
Yeah. You know, I think like like I said, I love traveling, love all that stuff, and it's all great, but I actually really love a few falls ago, maybe 3 or 4 years. I can't quite remember when, but leaves are changing. One of my favorite things to do was get up earlier in the morning, make myself a cup of coffee or apple cider and whatever it may be, and go for just a walk on one of the trails. In Fargo, there's like river trails, right? Like right down by the Red. Like I'd go up near, I think it's called Trefoil Park or something like that, and just walk those trails because you're still in nature. And in the morning, it's very peaceful.
Yeah.
And it gave me time to just like, I would do what I call prayer walks. Had a list of different things, people I'm praying for, things in my life I'm praying for, just all that. And it just gave me opportunity to pray and bring these requests before God. And it was in nature. Like that's simple, right? Like you don't have to get up early morning to do that. You can do that anytime throughout the day. You could do an evening walk, like whatever it may be. I think that's just a great way, like, to connect with the Lord in his creation, even just do a simple walk. Like there's like in Fargo, if you live in Fargo, like there's so many trails and things like that to do, right?
Yeah, and most cities will have some form of like a city park, or
100%.
If you're fortunate, maybe you have a state park nearby, or even getting out. I think like if I lived in the country, like country roads. And I like how you kind of brought up like you said getting up early, so kind of putting yourself at a time where you're less likely to have as many distractions.
Exactly.
So I think whether that's early morning or even like for some people, if they're a night owl, later at night. I remember back in college, I would sometimes go on bike rides at midnight or 1, and it's like nobody's out.
Yep.
So I think there's like lots of flexibility people can take to see if getting out in nature, finding these times of solitude help add to their affection for God.
Just to cap off on that, right? Like that's exactly it. Like just find those things, try those things, and just see what happens. Like, yeah, go for it. Do it.
Yeah. So everybody listening, get out in nature.
Exactly. Do it right now.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Jonny, for coming in today and revisiting the podcast, talking about adventure.
No problem.
And leaving us with a really cool metaphor of adding to your affection for God and subtracting. I think that surprisingly, that was something I didn't have planned, but I think it's kind of my major takeaway from our conversation.
Sweet. That's cool.
Thank you for joining us. You can support the show by going to our Patreon page at patreon.com/story516. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We look forward to seeing you next time.